What about schools? I feel like there's got to be something that, and I know you write about this a little bit, but what's your sort of top line thinking about how schools can make this a little bit better and certainly not make it worse?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I say this with recognizing that we've asked so much of schools and of
Mhm.
teachers in particular. You're an educator yourself, and so you're very familiar with this. But when it comes to grade school in particular, I think we've put so much on the plates of teachers. But I do think with with the right support, I do think that schools could play a major role here. I think in a few ways. Number one. Is in education around the impact of social media and healthy social media use, not just for kids, but for their parents who are often struggling for this information. Number two, schools can also serve as a model for how to live our lives and operate without a unhealthy dependence on social media. For example, creating spaces in the school day, and that could be much of the school day, where kids have to be with one another, be with their teachers and class, but not necessarily be on their devices all the time. That's really important because I talk to so many kids who say, they want to interact with each other during lunchtime, but everyone's on their phones, or even during the classroom.
Right.
When the class is going on, that kids are on their phones, and after school, kids are on their phones, and even when they do talk to each other, they feel like they're distracted by their devices. So having time where kids can literally be with each other without the distraction of devices is important, and that's something that schools can model as well. The last thing I was just going to say is, and this connects to loneliness as well, is that I think schools have a really powerful role they can play when it comes to social and emotional learning.
Right.
And when I think about social emotional learning, I think about teaching kids about emotions, about their emotions, and about the emotions of other people, helping kids learn how to manage emotions, and helping them also understand how to build healthy relationships. We think, well, these are things kids should just either know or learn from their families. But the truth is, just the reality is, a lot of kids aren't getting this
Right.
information. And what we're seeing is the downstream impact in terms of loneliness and mental health concerns. So, to me, building the kind of skills that help you foster healthy relationships with yourself and others is as important a life skill as learning how to read or write or do math. And so that's why I think that could be a powerful role for schools to play as well.
As a very tangible first item of business, would you, if you could, and the Surgeon General can't do this, but if, maybe in conjunction with the Secretary of Education, you could make a dent in this, would you ban devices from public schools?
Yeah, it's a good question. In our country, much of the authority for making these decisions of what happens in schools rests at the local level with school boards and communities. But
Right.
if I was running a local school board, or if I was actually more specifically running a school, um, I would actually put in place measures that would restrict the use of phones and devices during the school day. Recognizing, look, there are times where you want to create some safety provisions in place. So if a parent really needs to reach a child, or if a child is in distress, they know they can reach out to someone, they can get in touch with one another. But I would have times throughout the school day when kids can be kids and can be with each other,
Right.
because that is really lacking right now.
Yeah. It's notable that the school where I teach, the Harvard Business School, you can't bring devices into class.
Uh,
So, I mean, it's arguably the best business school in the world saying no devices in class, pencil and paper and ears and mouth and mind and heart.
yeah,
That's the equipment that you get. And, that's sort of the point of school, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's important in class, and it's important during social time, during lunchtime. Like
Yeah.
some of my best conversations I had in school were often during lunchtime.
Yeah.
But I know
It's
that
all I
so many.
remember.
But I know like so many. It's interesting. So many young people, when I do roundtables around the country, will tell me that it's hard to actually have a conversation with people where they're actually fully present. Like folks are always distracted on their devices. And by the way, it's not just other kids. They often say that about home as well. As
Right.
much as it's hard for kids to get off their devices, their parents are having a hard time too. And many kids actually say in surveys that they wish that their parents were on their phones less so
Yeah.
that they actually paid more attention to them. So this truly is a societal problem.